Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about how to use Rainforest, some examples of how to use Rainforest, and the workflows you might want to use it in. So first off, the context in which you use any tool is important. It doesn't matter how brilliant the tool is or how excellent your process and workflow around it is. If it's not actually relevant to the people who are expected to use it, if they don't find it useful, then the utility of that tool is going to be useless. That goes for whatever the tool is. It's not just Rainforest. It could be any kind of linting tool, static analysis tool. It could be Git or Kubernetes. Whatever tool you have, if it's not useful or people find it too difficult to use or integrate into getting their jobs done, they're not going to use it. So it's very important to think about the context of your organization and your environment when you're thinking about introducing any new tool. So to kind of give some context to the questions you might want to ask, I've come up with these questions to consider when thinking about how to use Rainforest and how to introduce it to your organization. So first off, I think the most important thing to think about and to come up with the answer to is like, what is it you're actually trying to achieve with Rainforest? Why do you want to test? What is it you want to improve or reduce or increase? Are you trying to obviously you want to increase quality, but how are you trying to do that? Like, what's the thing you're trying to do exactly? And that's the kind of the leading question, which sets the context for all the other questions I've got on the page here. Once you know why you want to test, you can think about what is it that's going to start the testing process, what's going to kick off a Rainforest run, which environment are you going to run Rainforest runs against? Is it a QA environment? Is it production? Who is it who cares about the results of a Rainforest run? How are they going to get the results? And then when are they expected to react and what are they expected to do? You can kind of reformulate this in more of a prose form. A run is triggered by something against some environment, and then the results are sent to somebody somehow, and then they will react and do something. And you can fill in the blanks here to give yourself like a bit more of a clue or a bit like guide your thinking about how you could use Rainforest and like what the integration points into your organization are. So I'm going to go through three broad examples of how to use Rainforest. And those examples are CI/CD, monitoring, and ad hoc. We'll just walk through each of these and kind of go through these considerations and talk a bit about them. So first up is a CI/CD example. So CI/CD is continuous integration, continuous deployment, and is the process by which you release software in small batches and continuously. And the reason for doing that is basically to mitigate risk. We use this workflow at Rainforest ourselves. And the reason we do it is because we want to prevent regressions in new releases of software. And the way CI/CD normally works is you have feature branches in your source control environment, and whenever you want to release to production, you'll merge those feature branches into some master branch, and then that will be shipped to production through some automated process. So for us, the testing process is started by this merging of a feature branch into the master branch, and so every time we run or release a new version of our software, a new version of Rainforest, we kick off a Rainforest run. We have a dedicated QA environment. So whenever we start a Rainforest run, we run it against this dedicated QA environment using the latest version of our software. We also reset the environment with the data that the tests expect so that we know that everything's reproducible and that any failures are due to failures in the code. Who cares about the results? Well, for us, the engineers who are releasing the software are in charge of releasing, and so they're the people who care about the results, and they receive the results of the run, the Rainforest run, through our CI/CD software, which basically is configured to send a Slack notification to our development channel to say that a build's failed. And when are they going to respond? Well, they're going to respond as soon as possible, because we have a policy of not allowing the build pipeline to be blocked for too long, because we want to have the ability to release at any point in time. Otherwise, what happens is you get a big backlog of changes that want to be released, and it kind of slows down our entire release process and our software development lifecycle. And finally, we'll talk about ad hoc workflows. So an ad hoc workflow is kind of like, well, you've got a user and they're going to go into Rainforest and click on something, start a run. And the kind of scenario here is a traditional QA team who's using Rainforest to prevent regressions in new releases software. Probably you've got an engineering team, they're cutting a version of some software to release, is being handed over to the QA team, they're testing it, and they want to use Rainforest to kind of take away some of the drudge work of the things that are regularly tested for, but aren't really very exciting. So as I said, what starts the testing process? Well, it's probably manually triggered. Engineering's provisioned software to an environment, maybe QA, maybe staging, maybe production, depending on how your development organization and QA function is organized. And who cares about the results? Well, is somebody performing a traditional QA function? They're going to get the results through a Slack integration, email notifications, or given that they've started the run manually, through the user interface. And then when and how are they going to respond? They'll probably look at the results, triage some of the issues, see if they can work out why they're breaking, get some more context, get some more information on failures, and then open tickets for the engineering team to resolve. And they could do that through our Jira integration, or just manually through depending on the tool you use to track issues.